Now, it's pretty much inevitable that anybody who works as an actor will end up with a couple of death scenes on their highlight reel, and for many actors, they may even die in basically all of their movies. I'm looking at you, Sean Bean, over there. But there are times when an actor's death might feel so oddly reminiscent you'd swear you'd seen it before. Well, in the case of these 9 examples, you actually had. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 9 actors who died twice, horribly, the exact same way in different movies. Number 9. Nicolas Cage, Bound and Burned Alive, The Wicker Man, and Kick-Ass. Now, it shouldn't surprise anyone that Nicolas Cage has died many times over the course of his career. Though beyond your garden variety shootings and stabbings, there's one particularly horrifying death the actor has performed twice, and that is being bound and burned alive. In his ill-advised 2006 remake of the horror classic The Wicker Man, Cage's protagonist Edward is killed when the villainous pagan cult seals him inside a giant wicker effigy and sets it on fire. He's unable to do anything but watch as the structure burns to a crisp while he's still inside it. A few years later, Cage acted out a rather similar demise in the brilliantly brutal superhero movie Kick-Ass. As the Batman-aping hero Big Daddy, he's eventually set on fire by thugs employed by Kingpin Frank, all while bound to a chair and with no means to save himself. Unlike The Wicker Man, we actually get to see the outcome of the fire, with Big Daddy expiring from his severe burns in front of his daughter Hit Girl. Number 8. Pat Roach, Torn Apart by Machinery, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Pat Roach was the legendary ex-wrestler turned actor who appeared as 4 separate characters throughout the first 3 Indiana Jones movies, each as a burly foe who was ultimately brutally dispatched. But 2 of the deaths are almost hilariously similar in nature. Roach's second role in Raiders of the Lost Ark is a German Luftwaffe mechanic who gets torn apart by an airplane propeller during a fight with Indy. And the second death, in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Roach reappears as a guard who fights Indy in the mines before being dragged into a rock crusher. In both cases, he's inadvertently driven into a piece of extremely dangerous machinery and ripped to shreds, the gory remnants of which are then cartoonishly implied to the audience. Number 7. Samuel L. Jackson, Shot by Police Officers, Lakeview Terrace and Spiral. When you appear in as many movies as Samuel L. Jackson does, it's simply a given that you're going to have literally dozens of deaths to your names. Now, this entry nearly very focused on the fact that Jackson has been devoured by genetically engineered animals in 2 separate movies, a velociraptor in Jurassic Park and a shark in Deep Blue Sea. But then we remembered one even more grimly specific. Jackson has appeared in 2 separate films where he's murdered by the police, and better yet, in both movies Jackson himself is a cop. In the 2008 thriller Lakeview Terrace, Jackson plays a racist cop who targets his interracial married couple's neighbors through increasingly unsettling means. By the film's end, he pulls a gun and shoots at the neighbor Chris, prompting the police to pull out their guns and open fire, riddling his character with bullets and killing him. Conversely, last year's new Saw film Spiral concludes with Jackson's retired cop Marcus being put into one of Jigsaw's traps, where his limbs are strapped to various guns which lift up into the air when the trap is triggered. This causes the SWAT team that breaches the area to assume that he is a threat and immediately open fire, ending his life. Number 6. Danny Nucci, crushed to death during a real-life tragedy, Titanic and World Trade Center. Danny Nucci appears in Titanic as Fabrizio, the Italian best friend of Jack who boards the doomed liner with him. Fabrizio is killed later in the movie, however, when one of the ship's funnels breaks, falls into the water, and crushes him to death along with some of the passengers. And because being a brutally killed victim in one disaster movie inspired by true events isn't enough, he also plays a small role in Oliver Stone's 9/11 dramatization World Trade Center. Here he plays a cop, Officer Giraldi, who is on the scene when the Twin Towers are struck, and though we don't see him die on screen, the implication is that he dies when the towers collapse. And with that, he's been at the epicenter of 2 major real-world tragedies as depicted on film, where he was instantly crushed to death in both. Number 5. Dwight Fry, mauled by Frankenstein's monster, Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. Dwight Fry was a character actor best remembered for his deranged supporting roles in Universal horror movies such as Dracula and Frankenstein. He's distinguished in the 2 annals of cinematic history for being the only actor to be brutally killed by Frankenstein's monster twice in 2 different movies. In 1931's legendary Frankenstein adaptation, Fry played Henry Frankenstein's hunchback assistant Fritz. who is basically Igor as the character is largely known today. As Fritz, Fry received his first of 2 deaths at the hand of the creature off-screen, where we only hear his scream before his corpse is later discovered hanging from the rafters. In Bride of Frankenstein a few years later, Fry returned to play Carl, a henchman to the villainous mad scientist Dr. Pretorius. Once again, he plays a character who is attacked and violently murdered by Frankenstein's monster, in this case being thrown off of a tower to his death. The specific method of death may differ in each film, but given that Fry is the only actor to ever be killed by the Abomination in 2 separate films, it still works. Number 4. Colin Salmon, Diced by a Net, Resident Evil and Alien vs. Predator. Colin Salmon has a memorable role in Paul W.S. Anderson's original Resident Evil movie as the commando leader James Shade, who midway through the film is diced up into chunks by the Umbrella Corporation's laser defense system. Though Shade makes a gallant attempt to avoid the various lasers, ultimately the Umbrella AI known as the Red Queen unleashes a box grid of lasers which are effectively inescapable. Cue Shade falling apart before our very eyes in supremely disgusting fashion after the hot lasers pass through his body. Director Anderson decided to pay hilarious homage to this in his next film as well, Alien vs. Predator, by casting Salmon as another badass who was doomed to get sliced up. In AVP, Salmon plays former British Special Forces officer Maxwell Stafford, who meets a similarly gnarly end when he's trapped in a net that is thrown at him by a predator. The net is designed to slowly constrict inwards, with its sharp fibers progressively cutting through human flesh and bone, with sure similarity to Shade's death in Resident Evil. Number 3. Daryl Hannah, Flailing Around Helplessly, Blade Runner and Kill Bill Volume 2. In Blade Runner, Daryl Hannah plays Pris, one of the rogue replicants Deckard is forced to chase down, and who is ultimately killed by him following a rather brutal fight. Now, his death is memorable in that after being shot by Deckard, she flails and thrashes around on the floor before finally being, air quotes, retired with an additional shot. This was amusingly homaged in Kill Bill Volume 2, where Hannah's assassin, Elle Driver, is killed when the bride plucks out her one remaining eye and leaves her to blindly fend off a black mamba snake. Before the bride leaves, we see her rolling around on the floor of the trailer in a fashion incredibly similar to her end in Blade Runner. Knowing Tarantino's fondness for classic movies, it's extremely hard to believe that this wasn't intentional. Number 2. Christina Soderbaum, Suicide by Drowning, Jude Schuss and the Golden City. Now, you probably haven't ever heard of Nazi-era German actress Christina Soderbaum, but that makes her legendary reputation for cinematic death no less fascinating. Now, she earned the nickname, and I'm going to butcher this, Reich Swasserleich, meaning Drowned Corpse of the Reich, due to the fact that she appeared in 3 films between 1938 and 1942 where her character drowned. In 2 of these films, it gets even more specific, because her characters die due to suicidal drowning. In the 1940 propaganda film Jude Schuss, Soderbaum's protagonist Dorothea Sturm is raped by the film's villain and drowns herself as a result. 2 years later in the drama Die Golden Stadt, aka The Golden City, she plays protagonist Anne Jobst, who is abandoned by her father at the film's end and drowns herself in the swamp that her mother also drowned herself in. Yeah, pretty bleak. Drowning twice in cases both in supremely horrible fashion due to the actions of a man in films released within 2 years of each other no less sure is something. Now, before we go on to our number 1 pick, there are going to be major spoilers for the new Scream film, so consider this your warning. And number 1, Mikey Madison, Set on Fire, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Scream. Now, many keen-eyed fans noticed something amusingly disturbing while watching the new Scream film, that one of its primary cast members' deaths is extremely similar to a death they recently endured in another movie. At the end of Scream, Amber, played by Mikey Madison, is revealed to be one of the 2 killers and is memorably off when she's shot by Gale Weathers, causing her to fall over onto a lit stove and burst into flames. Now, technically speaking, Amber does come back for one last scare before being finally shot dead for good, though going by her severely melted face, it's clear that being set on fire was the operative cause of death. It didn't take long for fans to connect the dots that this was in fact a strange homage to the actress Madison's similar death in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. In that film, Madison plays Sadie, a member of the Manson family whose rampage is stopped when, you guessed it, she's set on fire by Rick Dalton and his trusty flamethrower. To put an even finer point on it, in both films Madison's character is motivated to murder by Hollywood. In Tarantino's film, she claims that movies taught her how to kill, and in Scream she starts killing people over her dissatisfaction with the direction of the Stab franchise. And there we go, my friends. Those were 9 actors who died twice horribly in the exact same way in different movies. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there. Hope you're treating yourself well, my friend. Just want to say that before I head off today, because you are a massive ledge, and you deserve all the good things in life like love, happiness, and success. So go out there and absolutely smash it today, alright? I believe in you, so you need to believe in yourself as well. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.